I'm Andrew, and this is Blaster Breakdown. Today, I'll show you how to put together my latest HPA blaster, a Gear Up Raider. This one's quite a rare blaster, hard to get your hands on, so when I picked one up a little while ago, I knew I wanted to save it for something special. This is now a remote line HPA blaster, featuring Spectre's Spexbz, held in this worker stock at the back, controlled with a solenoid, powered with a battery sitting inside, using the original sliding prime action. Because I want to use this one at my local group's Superstock events with a 150 FPS cap, I'm using a short worker barrel with a tight 12-string scar, all held inside the front. With an input pressure of 30 to 35 PSI, this one now sits happily within that cap. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and go ahead and hit that like button if you enjoy my content. All right, let's have a look inside. Okay, here we are. So let's start with the shell first. Most of the internal parts I've removed, for example, parts holding the plunger tube, the various locks, and so on. So none of those I need. What I have done is kept a few pieces here where the bolt sled will travel across. For the breech piece, I did need to make some cuts around here on both sides of the shell. Because this is a worker piece, there's instructions available online that you can see exactly where you need to cut to make this one fit. The other thing I did was make some room underneath here to fit my battery. So I've got a little LiPo here. This is one I had for a Nightingale. I could actually do with a smaller one than even this. But to make it fit, there was some cutting and grinding to do in this area at the front. For my trigger, I just cut this bit a little because I don't need to interface with the catch at the rear. So that's cut down a little. Cut a hole at the back here to make space for the push fit, plus some cutting and grinding here and here where the air line coming in goes. For the electricals, this is just a simple micro switch. I've got it screwed into a bed of 3D filament that I drew into the space here when I had my positioning just right. So it's just a simple on-off circuit. This rear XT30 plug then connects to this plug that runs through the back of the stock to the solenoid. So that's the electricals. For the pneumatics, as we said, we've got our remote line connector that's glued into this base piece that sits at the bottom of the grip, held in place by the two halves of the shell. That then connects to this right angle push fit here. And this line goes through a hole I drilled at the base of the stock through to the inlet for the solenoid at the back. The solenoid is then screwed directly into the back of the Spexbz. And of course, this is in the normally open configuration. When I connect my remote line, air flows through the solenoid, pressurizes the core. When I pull the trigger, the solenoid flips position, quick exhaust diaphragm at the back of the Spexbz flips, and air is dumped through the front. Now I cut a hole in the back part of this in the stock, and the Spexbz slips inside there. Inside that, there's a coupling piece that takes 9/16 brass. So I've got a short piece of that, and then 17/32 brass glued into that. So from here to here to here, this is now essentially one fixed piece. Now, the bolt sled. This is 9/16 brass. This sleeves over 17/32. I polished up this piece, gave it some silicone to slide nicely, and you can see how smooth that is, while still maintaining a good seal. At the front of the bolt sled, this is the pusher tip from the same worker Raider Rampage kit that the breech is from. That just screws off the rest of the bolt that comes with the kit, and I've just epoxied that into the front of my 9/16 brass. It's quite a close fit, so a bit of epoxy holds that really nicely. And of course, that tip just slots into the bolt sled using a pin in the normal way. That bolt sled then slides really smoothly on the existing rails there. This breech piece holds the barrel, which was the one that came again with the worker kit. And I've attached this 12-string printed worker scar, secured with a little bit of tape at the front. And it's just the right length, so that the barrel and scar sit in the front, the breech piece sits in the exact right position, and the pusher will deliver a short dart into the breech very smoothly. And that is really all there is to it. Putting it together is just a little bit tricky then. I want my XT30 connector and my brass sticking out the back, and it helps to have this cap in the right place. My airline sits like so, and I'm happy with that. Okay, that looks pretty good. Put some screws in. Okay, then attaching the stock, that line through, Slide my brass in. Make my XT30. Little spray of lube. Carefully slide that all together. You can see that's sliding nicely. So I'm going to touch my front grip. Okay, that's sliding nicely. The last thing was to my air solenoid. We can give this a test. So my air is connected, my core is pressurized, I hear no leaks. Sounds great. The last thing I'll do, just put a zip tie around the wires in my airline here, just to keep them neat. This one's ready to take out on the field. Alright, I got a plan. Let's run up and shoot Jono. Oh. Oh no. Game over. You okay, mate?
Nice, good shot.
That's game. That shot, Jono. I aimed over this branch.
No way.
Yes way. I'm like, what's the elevation? Yeah, like that. So there you have it, the Spexbz Gear Up Raider. It was a lot of fun to use at that event, and it's great to breathe some new life into a classic old blaster. Go ahead and click like if you've enjoyed this guide, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.